Okay, so thanks again. Just a refresher, I'm David Segura, PowerShell MVP. I'm a software PM at HP who moonlights in OSD stuff. Online, I'm joined by Michael Escamilla with Patch My PC. We've been working together on this since January, and I think we've done some phenomenal progress. So what we want to talk about in this afternoon session is building the WinPE boot environment. This doesn't sound too fun, but I think we've added enough features to make this a pretty cool process. And that's mostly why OSD Cloud V1 is going to get rid of the templates and workspace and not be supported going forward. So that said, OSD Workspace is what we call it. So let's just get started. What is it? We have some requirements. You should be on Windows 11 latest. 24H2 Plus, we don't know if it'll work on a Plus, but when 25H2 comes out, we want to make sure you're always staying current, because we're always going to test on the current version of Windows, not previous versions. PowerShell 7.5. The no ISE was for Gary. Windows 80K is needed to manipulate WinPE. You should be using VS Code Insiders. You can have that side by side normal VS Code, but Insiders gives us a lot more access to some of the Copilot features. And you will need Git for Windows. So once you have all of those in place, we can set up OSD Workspace. Couple different ways we can set it up. Can anyone tell me how they think we set it up? No? All right.
With a commandlet?
You could. This is the old school way. Just run get OSD Workspace from PowerShell 7 or newer, 7.5 or newer. And it will do all the work for you. Now, the question is, okay, well, what is a workspace in VS Code? Now, I can create a directory on my computer, and I will call it not a workspace. If you've been working in VS Code, you know that anytime you open a directory, that's your workspace. It's not really your workspace. Okay, so I'll show you what a real workspace is. When we actually run the OSD Workspace, the Get OSD Workspace function that builds it for us, this is what things look like in VS Code. On the left side, you see our Explorer view. There's only a couple directories that are created. We got our .github, got .vs Code. We have a library and our git ignore, git attributes. And we also have an osd.code workspace file. Very important, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, we now have a prompt that says open workspace. And when we click on that button, this is what OSD Workspace looks like. It's created some aliases that are easy for us to view, and it's more intuitive for us to work with a structure like this. When we expand everything out, all of these directories are empty. They're just structure. We haven't put anything in it. It's just an empty basket, basically. And then we can do our initial git commit to save these changes. We back this in Git because we expect you to back up your configuration to GitHub, to a repository, but also doing it in Git allows Copilot to function better because it can create an index of your workspace. So that's why Git's needed. Now, you don't have to publish to GitHub if you don't want, or if your company doesn't allow it, but you can still keep everything local and just run commits, and then you've got some version control in your environment. And what I like to do is press the little Copilot thing and let it fill out the git commit message, and away we go. So once that's done, I can publish branch, which will move it to GitHub. Now, next thing I want to do is import an OS. I can easily do that with a function listed below in yellow, import OSD workspace WinOS, or I can do it as we have designed it, which is to come back into VS Code. The first thing we want to do, mount your ISO. Okay. Unlike OSD Cloud V1, there is no importing of WinRE from a running OS. It's too messy. So you will have to mount an ISO, a Windows ISO, in order for us to bring in the content. And from here, what's the next step? And I will not move slides until someone takes a stab at this. What's the next step?
The previous slide.
This,
Remember?
yeah, there's like nobody wants to participate on this call. Come on, people. All right,
Click next.
grab the whim. Yeah,
The
grab
whim.
the whim. Yeah, let's not do that. Built into VS Code, you would go to terminal and then run task. All of the tasks you use for OSD workspace have been pre-configured. We can just select the import out of Windows 11 operating system and recovery environment. And that will automatically launch PowerShell 7 with elevated privileges. We don't typically do VS Code as admin, so we have to relaunch this as a new process. That's all handled automatically. You don't even have to leave VS Code to do anything in OSD Workspace. So we're going to pick an index, and I typically choose Enterprise to build, to pull out the WinRE. And once that's done, I can close my PowerShell session, and there it gets imported. And you'll see that there's two entries. One is a Windows OS entry. So what it will do is it'll actually bring in the OS WIM. And then it's going to mount that WIM and then pull WinRE out of the WIM. And so we've actually imported the OS and WinRE at the same time. Additionally, there are several files that we want to inject in WinRE in order for it to function properly with OSD Cloud. So those are actually pulled and stored under the WinOS under core, but we can access them when we start building a PE environment. We can choose to commit if we want. There we go. So is this the first time any of you have seen it? Okay, let me rephrase it. Since nobody wants to answer, who has seen tasks in Visual Studio Code? Okay. Now we're into something new. So let me pull up my VS Code. This is my workspace, and let's just have a quick look at my tasks. This one I've already run, but you see I've got my about information. I've got a docs. I can import DISM docs into OSD Workspace. And the reason why we do this and what it does is it'll import it here, and I'm just going to delete this and bring it back. But this will allow Copilot to actually use the help documentation so it doesn't hallucinate when it tries to give me DISM commands. So let me just tell it run task, and I'll tell it add help for DISM. And here it goes. It's going to copy all the MD files that tell it how to use this function without screwing up. And I can even do that for if we want to use the OSD module, we've got this docs, we can update OSD or OSD workspace, and now they're automatically populated in here, and Copilot can learn from that. Okay, so that's the docs that we've designed. Take a look. We've already done the import. We've got some library stuff, which we'll go over later. We've got the PowerShell gallery update OSD workspace. This is the module that controls OSD workspace. And we've also got functions to manipulate with USBs and VMs. Now, the cool thing about this is if I didn't know how to import an OS, how do I can ask Copilot, and it tells us there's a task, and it asks us if we want to do it. I prefer working with Sonnet. Sonnet typically gives me, it's slower, but it typically allows me to press a button. And now it's telling me this is the task you would choose, and I can just press this button and it'll import the OS. And so it's really nice being able to have this kind of interaction where we've configured all the tasks that you need and Copilot can actually run them. So hopefully that explains tasks. You can always, if you don't want to use VS Code, you can use all these functions in a PowerShell prompt, but it's much nicer working in code. So, yeah, question.
About the Copilot version you're using. If you're using the free tier, does learning that workspace consume accelerate your code to the limit, or do you actually need to clear?
Yeah, you should be on a paid tier.
Okay.
It's $10. It will probably save you hours of work a month. And we are trying to put efficiencies in OSD workspace that Copilot can take advantage of. I mean, for example, I have 3 different WinPEs I've created and I can't tell what they are by name. Okay. But I can ask it a question like, which WinPE has PowerShell 7, get a coffee if this takes a while and then come back. And it usually does a pretty good job of reading the index. And when I say it's reading the index, we've designed the structure and the amount of data that gets captured so that we can do things like this. So it's been architected, we've brought it in to Copilot, we've trained it and then re-engineered the structure specifically for this. And we can see this, that it's found the one installation and it's found the install script that I use to install PowerShell 7 in that PE.
Very.
GitHub Copilot, hands down the best Copilot as of now from Microsoft. We have a lot of hundreds of Copilots, but this one.
I would almost pay for a 10-year advance just to make sure the price doesn't go up because it is that good. I mean, $10 is something that, is half a lunch nowadays. So.
And I like the pricing model, like $10. There are other Copilot, like Copilot Security, which works on a concept called SCU, Security Computing Unit. So it's very hard to gauge like how much of SCU you would be needing, right? So, and it's consumption based, but it's kind of complicated, but this one is good.
Yeah, like tokens and stuff. And that's where I'm like, just training it, consume all that stuff. But if it's like,
So I think we have a slide later that Michael put together. You can use the free tier. Microsoft is now giving you limited amount of, credits or however it's calculated. But you are going to be limited. So, I mean, you can try it out, at least get the trial and see if it's going to work for you. But I'll give you another couple of reasons why you should get it later on in the presentation. So we want to build a boot image. We want to build WinPE. Now, before in the old V1 model, we had a few switches and they were just built in. They were just startup scripts for WinPE that were written, and we just kind of left it because we tried to give a variety that will handle everything. And that's where the library comes in. This allows us to write PowerShell scripts. For example, if I want to inject PowerShell 7.5, I've already written the script to do it, or even 7.6 preview 3. So I have the ability to add these apps, but I've also written WinPE scripts. Those are public. I don't like public. These are mine. So my WinPE startup, when we look at the startup process for my boot image, this is how I've written it. I've defined which modules I want to have injected into WinPE. A simple, for each to install the module in PE that I've got mounted. Mount path is just a very simple $mount path. Lots of instructions have been provided in these scripts. But this gives you complete control over how you want your boot image configured. I've even laid out a start net. You can see here, it's just added into a variable, which I have it write out to startnet. And these are functions here that I'm calling. These exist in the OSD.WinPE module that we're working on. That's going to make some of these startup processes easier for you. The commands won't be this long, I promise. It's in dev, but I have the ability, we talked about OSD module updating automatically. We don't want that. Okay, well, I've got that remarked out. Very easy for me to make a modification and now build a new PE. And then this window here is going to wait. This is that information window that runs OSD Cloud. And after it's closed, StartNet will continue and reboot. And I can always take this out if I want. But, and this is where I'm writing. So I can create these scripts. I can even create something called Ask OSD, my own personal module, and add it to WinPE. You can configure all kinds of things here. And where this comes in handy is when we actually want to create WinPE. So I'm gonna just go to my run build task. The only build task is creating a boot image. I can run task and pick it from here, but it's always defined as my build task. So I can simply tell it to run a build task. And I'm gonna have to give it a name, live demo. Can everyone see this?
Yeah.
And first thing it's going to do, it's going to look and see which WinREs I've got imported, and I have several of them. I can choose to build an ARM64 on an AMD 64. That's supported. I can choose any one of these languages. I prefer to just always pick the latest one that I've imported that matches my needs. And, I have quite a bit of information. The OS that it came from, I can see it came from Enterprise. But you'll also see when you look at these modified times, Microsoft does change them with every ISO. So when in April, when they come out with new ISOs, get the new ISOs, import that WinRE, and then you can use it and it's up to date. So I'll pick the ISO. I'll pick the WinRE. And now what it's asking me for, it's asking me for a boot profile. Now this boot profile is any of the previous builds I've already created. So I can simply click on this and away it'll go. So if I have something that I want to repeat on a monthly basis, it's saved as a profile and I just stick with it. But I'm going to cancel that. We can see that I have an Apple driver for my phone, so I can tether and connect to the internet. I won't go into how that works. And then it's also now asking me to pick any of the scripts that I've created and put in my library to configure my PE. And they get defined differently based on what folder they are. So these are applications. If I want to put PowerShell 7.5 or OpenSSH or GitHub CLI, which is AI infused, I can do that. And then I've also written some of my own, and these are the ones that I stick with on a personal basis. I add these. There is another script I've written that shows you how, if you want to patch your boot image, this script is already configured to where you just dump in the SSUs and it'll build it. So this gives you complete control to do whatever you want to PE and to pick whatever options you want. And for this case, I'm just going to go with my steady and then pick PowerShell 7.5 and let that build. And what we've done in the build process in here, just like OSD Cloud, we've got this pause. And the pause is not to annoy you, but it gives you the opportunity to make sure that everything jives, make sure you selected everything right. You went through a few, grid views, and you want to make sure that this is exactly what you want. It's already set the time zone, Pacific Standard Time, based on my current time zone. So when I go back to Houston, as I start doing builds, it's going to be Central Standard Time. So, and we'll just let this build out. So one cool thing, Gary mentioned earlier, Black Lotus is everyone worried about Black Lotus? Is that a pain to have to make boot images for non-Black Lotus and Black Lotus? Well, that's done automatically. When this is done, you will have 4 ISOs that get created and 2 media directories, one that is patched for Black Lotus, one that is not. And then you will have matching ISOs, but you'll also have no prompts so you can boot to a VM. So it's already patched for you. There is no work to do. This is done automatically. Nothing, no scripts you have to add. Is that going to be helpful, or should we pull that feature since no one's given feedback?
We have accidentally, when we were testing Black Lotus mitigations, it fixed to the firmware, right? So now we got a few machines in our environment where it's like, oh, you have to use these specially crafted boot state because of that. So I would say it's useful to have.
And I can drop back to Workspace and let me just close all this out. And if we look at these builds I've made, this is the one that's happening right now. You can see there's 2 media directories, a media and a media EX. Okay, the EX will be Black Lotus patched. The ones that I've already built, you see I've already got my ISOs, very easy to pick. When you create a USB using OSD Workspace, you'll be able to pick whether you want Black Lotus or not. When you start up a VM, you'll be able to pick whether you want Black Lotus or not. It's really cool, and it's done. There's nothing you have to do. It's in box. Not even a round of applause for that, man. That took like an hour of work.
There we go. Now they're coming.
Any comments online, or shall we continue?
In chat yet.
All right, they're asleep. So this is our build WinP demo. We're going to let it run in the background. Michael, you want to talk about submodules? Yeah, we can do this. I'll let you do your voiceover here.
Yeah.
What are
So
submodules?
yeah, so submodules are essentially a repository within a repository here, and like David said, you can easily add one here into your workspace using the task here. From there, basically, you're going to get prompted for URL. You're going to paste in your repository of your submodule there, and it's going to get cloned over, and then it's going to go into the library submodules there.
Hang on, Michael. I don't have any. Can you walk me through that here live? You want to see this,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do. Let's
walk me
let's
through here.
Well, let's head up to your terminal there. Let's hit run task, and let's select that add a submodule.
I don't have any URLs. What can I do?
Well, there's actually one there where you can search for some. So let's see, find a shared library. Yeah, let's click that there.
Oh.
Look, I even have one in there. Nice.
So hey, I work for HP. I would love to get these drivers. Walk me through it, man.
Yeah, so let's get in there. We'll hit the green button there. Get the. Oh yeah, so here you've got all your drivers in there. Looks like you got some AMD and ARM64 as well.
Okay, cool.
Ultra, nice.
So
we'll go back to the green button. Yep. Let's copy that URL there. Now we can run another task. Right? Yeah. Then we'll library add a submodule to the shared library. Yep.
It's gonna take forever, right?
Oh, super long time. Nice.
I saw there was a Surface one. Can I pull that one too?
I don't know. Do you have a Surface?
Yeah. I returned it, one. But I'm at Microsoft. I assume they would probably want me to demo Surface, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of drivers in here, right?
Oh yeah, there's a couple models here. We could probably get all these in there.
That's the ARM one, didn't you?
So I'm going to repeat that same process. Terminal, run task. and add a shared library. And so this functionality was written to allow us to pull in drivers. But it's also a way for the community to share their scripts that they want to share with the community, or an MSP that wants to provide their customers with configurations for their boot image. They can do it all in this fashion. And I think if we look back at the index, there's OSD Cloud V1. So all of the scripts that were used in OSD Cloud V1, they've been converted to the new OSD Cloud and OSD Workspace. So you can use them all here. So essentially, no reason for you to go back to rebuilding the old V1 style if you're using Workspace. So now that I have these in place and my build here is done, I'm going to close that out. And let's tell it run build task now. And let's see if we can notice a difference. And I'm going to say post submodules. And I'm prompted to pick a boot image. Again, I always pick the latest. I can match any one of the previous profiles, but here's where the value comes in. Now I'm able to pick my HP drivers, Surface Pro 9. And this is the way we're going to add drivers to the boot image. Any thoughts? Is that painful?
Yeah, we had a question wondering if V2 would still pull drivers from the internet, or are these demoing local driver storage? The answer to that is that we're entering WinPE drivers here. That's what this is for your build.
It could be a question about P, cloud drivers. Yeah, no, we like the repos. They work really well. Unfortunately, we can't share the repos because licensing. We've looked into it, but as a community, I can create my own driver repo and I share it with Michael. We share it back and forth. I've just given him a collaborator to my repository on GitHub, and he shares his with mine. And so we both have access to private repositories. So MSPs that have customers, it's perfectly allowed for them to share drivers. You just have to, they don't want you to put drivers out and put it in a public repository for everyone to grab. There has to be some, adhering to license agreements. So, and that's more or less why submodules are here. We can't really put the drivers out for everyone to grab. But yes.
Does it also support Git LFS for like larger files? Did you do like the Vim itself that way?
I think there are some issues with, having a large file system supported on Run. I don't know. So the limitation there is 100 megabytes. We're downloading expanded drivers, so we never run into that issue with 100 megabytes. If you were putting video drivers, maybe. But yeah, we don't have these size concerns.
We had another question of, can we pull Wi-Fi drivers for HP and Dell? I'm assuming the question was like, does the module do that for you, or?
I mean, again, we're expecting the community or individuals to keep up with their WinPE drivers, and they can probably work with someone. So if you want to, I mean, we do it. We have Wi-Fi drivers on Dell and HP. Let me pull in another module that maybe expands on those drivers. This guy. And I'll show you, there are a lot of drivers out there that can be added. And let's see.
Would you recommend doing it that way though? So having like a USB key with drivers just for everything, or would you recommend creating multiple keys for different hardware deployment?
Well, I mean, I'm giving you the option to do whatever you want. I don't do any OS deployment at all. This is just a hobby for me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I really don't. It's going to come down to your personal choice.
Right.
If you put in too many drivers, you're going to have a very large boot image. It'll work with everything, but I find, you know your environment. You just the neat thing about doing this now is this type of structure gives you a means to actually organize and store these WinPE drivers and to back them up on your own private repos. I mean, before when I worked with drivers for PE, I would always download every time I needed to use them, and then I would, trash the directory or whatever. But yeah, hopefully you guys can stay organized, or several of you work for a different company, y'all can work together and, maybe you manage the Surface drivers, I'll manage the HP drivers, and Mike will manage the Dell drivers. I will say that all of these Surface drivers you saw there were built automatically using a new function from an OSD Surface PowerShell module that has not been released to the public yet, so it's already done. So the work to automatically do all that for Surface is done. We just haven't released it yet because, haven't had the venue to be able to explain. Hang on, canceled my task. We haven't had the venue yet to release it. I think we're going to be releasing that at Ninja UK because we like to give each one of the conferences, so let us speak, something different. That way we give you a new reason to come. So yeah, if you come to Ninja UK and see us, we'll give you the Surface PowerShell module as a free gift. Now I added that generic driver, and you can see that I've completely expanded, and now I've got some Intel wireless. I've got an AMD driver that's been added. We can sort this here and actually see that these are from this WinPE driver folder. Yeah, so I've got some new additions here. I think I've even got these down here that were added from that recent pack. But it's very easy to build this. I mean, it's not a huge effort. But the flexibility of being able to configure your PE with any script you write, with any start net, I think that's a big win. So the other thing, I will say, let's take a closer look at our sources. And this will be posed more to Two Pint. Do we have anyone from Two Pint in here?
Right.
So what we have pulled, and we are injecting automatically into WinPE, WinRE, is we've pulled all the bits that you need, all of the files you need for branch cache in PE automatically. And as well as the hives, so that they can be pulled. Let me see if I can find where those hives went. They're sitting in 10. So these hives exist here, so we can pull anything from the original OS and maybe integrate that. So we hope that Two Pint can maybe write a script to allow us to enable Stifler functionality from any boot image that's been created here.
The irony is we don't need to do that anymore.
Now you tell me. So, but it's there, and this is all imported with the OS that we keep here just in case we want to pull any of those files out. That way we don't have to import it again. So where are we at? Add a submodule. We did that. OSD Cloud V1 scripts. Okay. So some of the custom scripts, I mean, we're clearly, if we're working on custom scripts, we have a lot of time to play around with what can we do with this. And the best example I can give is if this This will work. I think I may be getting low on resources. We'll kill this one. Come on, Hyper-V. Well, let's just restart it. Is we can start adding functionality, which I'll show you in just a second when this comes up. Let's do this 5-second hardware error screen. Now, two things that I've done is I've added some environment variables to automatically to all my boot images. Some of those environment variables are for as copy. Others are for OpenAI. And what that allows me to do is to be able to do something like this. I'll copy folder to, and it's going to tell me in PowerShell how I should do it. I've added an OpenAI. I've written a front-end function, which goes back to my OpenAI and uses my Azure token. So if I want to ask OSD, clear disk 1, or let's do initialize. I don't know if everyone can see this, but I've instructed this to only respond to me in PowerShell and to paste that on my clipboard so I can easily, if I don't know a command or curl.exe, I don't remember the command line to curl. I don't use it that often, but to download a file. And bingo. And copy paste, and you know, it does a pretty decent job of answering my requests. But what I can do is let's drop into Explorer. Oops, I don't know what that did, but let's go into Explorer and let's just find a directory here. This OSD cloud log directory that got exported. So I want to copy X OSD cloud. So let's see if I remember this. As copy, my source. Oh, I forgot the copy command. Anyone use as copy? Real powerful. My destination is environment there. And oh man, I did it wrong. Let's try this again. Quote. Ah, anyone know what I'm doing wrong? Recurse.
Yeah, recursive.
There. Well, what was cool is you missed the part where I logged in, right?
You logged in?
Did? Yeah, I did miss the part where you logged in.
Well, let's just make sure. Did we get it there? Let's refresh and bingo. So what as copy does, and a lot of Azure is allows you to store environment variables to contain certain things. This one is not a supported as copy variable. I just put it there so I don't have to remember my URL. But you could, put in all of your key information in an environment variable And now you have a method to you make it only writable to this one container, and now you've got a method to upload log files if you need to. And it's all automatic. There's no authentication here. There's no login here. It's all based on the key that's based in your environment variable. That looks for as copy looks for it automatically. And so what I've done is let's see if I can find public script. And if you look here, this is how you would do it. This is just an example. You put your tenant ID, here's your client secret here, and client secret, SPN, this is your container. And if you have these variables in there and they're written to the registry, AskCopy automatically looks for them. And you don't have any auth. So if you're working in a situation where you need to upload log files, it's the easiest example I can give. You can create a container just for that and have that in your PE. But you can do a lot of cool stuff like the OpenAI. And I think I've also created a template on how to make your own OpenAI that talks to your Azure OpenAI instance. So that is what makes being able to put your own scripts real powerful.
Question.
Yes.
Does that interact properly with PowerShell closures? So oftentimes there's situations where you're trying to pass something from your environment to an external environment, it breaks when you're moving it through the closure. I don't know if you
Haven't tested it enough. We literally got this working about 2 weeks ago. So, and we get it working, and now we move on to see what else can we add. OpenSSH is the next thing we're working on. It's about 90% done, but being able to do OpenSSH for MPE, big win. Last month, Michael got Git for Windows in WinPE, so we could pull a repository. So if you were to OSD Cloud deploy an OS, then you could in PE clone a repo down to the local disk and have whatever files. So we're playing.
Okay.
So GitHub Copilot. I'm going to turn this over to Michael and let him do some more demo of what else we can do with Copilot in VS Code. Are you ready for that, Michael?
Yeah. I think we did touch on some of it already. If you can go to the next slide, I can kind of just touch on some of the question we had about so some of the requirements, you do need to set up your GitHub account. That's the only way it works within VS Code. And then you do also want to make sure you got that VS Code Insiders for what we like to use. We definitely like using that agent mode as well as that Claude 3.7 works very well. And then after that, you got to get your OSD Cloud workspace set up. Make sure that's running. And then let me jump over here. But yeah, just because you didn't actually click the continue button, I'll just briefly show here. When you do get prompted for one of those tasks here and you ask it for something, it's gonna so like David showed earlier, you can get prompted for these tasks. When you hit continue, we'll actually see what it does. And so here I'm getting the elevation just like you did. And so yeah, it's just like going up, running terminal and hitting the task up there, which we think super cool. I think it's going to make things
Hey, Michael,
much easier.
can you show them where tasks reside?
Yeah, so from here, basically, the OSD workspace, even though we have aliases, this is your top one. This is going to be just what it looks like on your Explorer page, like in File Explorer here. And then under VS Code, this is where these files lie here. So yeah, you can hit here, get the tasks, and this is what it looks like here. But this is where everything's laid out, and it's really just, it's just commands here being called. So you can definitely, modify these however you want. If there's some other tasks that you want to add to your workspace.
So your instructions for Copilot, where do those sit?
Yeah, and someone actually asked that in the first session, is like, are we training this thing somehow to?
Well, if they stayed on this long, I think we can show them.
Yeah. So yeah, here underneath the .github folder, by default, VS Code looks for this file, copilot instructions.md. And here's supposed to be real simple instructions. Like you're just telling Copilot here, like simple things. Like I want to use task JSONs as much as possible in the chat. You know, builds are located in this file here. So you can include all kinds of stuff here. Use tabs, not spaces. I mean, come on, let's do it right. And then, yeah, all kinds of stuff here. And so, you know, this, and it works really well too. I mean, you can add something in here and like reload the chat, and it seems like it listens pretty well. So like, as also mentioned before, I think this is what makes the GitHub Copilot like one of the best Copilots, because it's kind of easy to tailor to what you want.
And then pulling
And-
down those help files helps as well.
Yeah, and so that, and like David mentioned earlier, that's why we're trying to include as many files in the workspace, because Copilot will learn from it as much as possible, which was why
Now, the
also. Oh, go ahead.
Now the code workspace file, Michael, what's in there? Can you share that?
Back to that. Shrink it maybe one. That's still good. Yeah. So here, this is what builds out the folders and those aliases. You know, we're telling all this. You know, this is what to name it in the workspace, but this is the folder it's referring to. But then you can add settings as well. So there's a lot of stuff in here we're telling it to exclude. These are basically the settings that match up in VS Code. And then there's even some good Copilot stuff in here. So we're telling like, for your commit messages here, you know, be extremely detailed with the file changes, and then even add emojis to your commit messages. Like every time you do that, like go ahead and add an emoji, which is nice. So yeah, and I mean, I could probably do an example of that real quick. Let's just add something here. So yeah, when I go over, you hit this, we told it be extremely detailed, and of course this is probably not going to do what I want right now. But typically, if you have enough changes in here, it's going to add that emoji on there. It works every time. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that OSD, the code workspace file there is what builds this out for us here and allows this. It makes it easier to view a lot of these directories. But then also, like David mentioned, we're trying to include as many files as possible that reference the info you have. You know, so these properties.json has all the info for all this, so that way Copilot has as much information as possible to give you good answers. Yeah, and then we're also hoping too with these scripts, you know, in your submodules here, you know, we're really hoping that this is going to allow you to create scripts more easily as well. You know, I have something like this here, removes the languages, and so from here, like we're hoping we can do, you know, something like, you know, modify to only remove the NGB language. So maybe you found someone else's script, downloaded their submodule. It's like, well, I really like this, but I just need to modify a little bit. You know, this is what we're hoping you'll be able to
I've
do.
had it write a custom start net. It was really cool.
So just like that, it's like, boom, it's removed all this. I like these changes. Let's keep those. And boom, now it's only going to remove the NGB one here. And it kept everything the same. And then from here, I'm going to jump over. I want to get this saved to my submodule real quick. Got the changes added there. And now I've synced this up to my repository, and it's in Git. So now I got it backed up. So
Now we are excluding a lot of those large files, the WIM files. We're really capturing the indexing of PE and the custom scripts you're writing in your library. The submodules aren't captured because they're already contained somewhere else. And so the repository, when you sync up the whole workspace, less than a meg, you know, it's you know.
yeah, so it just makes it nice, especially to have all that stuff backed up too. So that
Now,
way,
Michael,
it's like, you know,
I didn't show them creating a VM. You want to handle that?
oh yeah, let's do that. You know, I might as well just have a Copilot help me out here. So how do I create a VM from my build? See what this comes up to. Hopefully we get some good offerings. So hey, we have a task for that. Select WinPs. Let's hit continue there. Launch PowerShell. So the
Now,
first thing you're
hold
going to
on
be
this-
asked here.
Can
Oh,
can
yeah,
you
go ahead.
maximize this?
Yeah.
I want to show them what's in the content that we're able to see. We're the detail that we're able to see on every one of the PE images we built.
Yeah. So we got stuff like the version. Yeah, stuff like the version here. Yeah, my zoom in skills are trash. All right, never mind. Yeah, we got this time zone information. Yeah, Justin
all
would
can't
not
be
like that. Yeah, exactly.
But-
Yeah, but we can see our start nodes here, like you've mentioned. Like this is what's gonna run when your WinPE launches.
And so before we were capturing the apps as separate columns. The version Michael's on doesn't. So the one I'm on, which I did last night about midnight, it's actually just one property, installed apps, and we're able to add every app that we install in PE in there. So now Copilot is aware of what apps we've installed in our WinPE. And then this
Yes.
helps. We index this, put it in the JSON file, and now Copilot can understand what is in our build. And you can understand too. It's a good reference. I mean, have we ever looked inside what's in the StartNet or what's in WinPE SHL? Say, okay, this is the boot image I need. Yeah, this was a smart move. Thank you, Michael. Keep going.
Yeah, so from there, we're going to select that one. Like David mentioned before, those 4 ISOs are built here. By default, we're going to just do this no prompt one. And then depending on your Hyper-V settings here, if you got multiple switches, we're just going to select the default switch. I'm going to do a 5-second delay here, and then it's going to start building out that VM for us. And from the command line, you can run this too. You can specify some stuff, but basically all the defaults for processor and memory are all lined out to be optimal. And by default too, it's going to start the VM here any moment. Oh. So yeah, cool stuff. We really hope basically, yeah, the way the workspace is built out, it's just going to make it even easier to, work with it and all the customizations that it has. Be able to really, and yeah, here I got my, OSD Cloud V1 booting up. So yeah.
We got time to take one Copilot question. If anyone wants to ask something, Michael can be your
I'll
remote
type it in
keyboard
here.
and. No takers, man.
Well, Bill's
Yeah.
got a question for Copilot. I've been sitting here not experienced like Copilot AI. I haven't really checked out, but this is all mind-blowingly amazing. Like,
Thank you.
maybe some references to like really get started, like for somebody like us. Like, are there any recommended like paths to go explore this? Like,
What's your name?
Ben.
Ben, reach out to me. We're gonna let you have the early copy of Workspace. So
Congratulations.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just like wow. This is cool.
and Michael, we started this.
Yeah,
We started this in January, and we've just been like on a roll. I mean, it is just, and Copilot's really helped us develop this and make changes, and it's been a very fun project to work on. I was ecstatic when Greg said I could talk today. I mean, I can't wait for MMSMOA because we got 2 months to improve on this, and so real happy.
It's pretty slick. I mean, I don't get to do much PowerShell in my day job anymore, but at night I've been messing around with just Copilot and VS Code, just helping me make my code cleaner, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going to Google and trying to find something, you just ask Copilot and it's providing you samples. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it will help you get from A to B pretty easily compared to, the good old days.
Yeah.
Last week,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we want to make sure it works well within Workspace here, just because of how helpful it is. We know it's just going to help the community even more as well.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good segue to this slide. Yes, I have the first question. We're in Q&A time here. First question to MMS MOA staff. So is there any room for an OSD workspace deep dive session covering all of this at MMS MOA? Because we didn't submit because this thing didn't exist until maybe last month.
Yeah, we'll look and see. We have, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but we're about full in sessions. We try to keep few slots so that the most popular sessions we can repeat because, we don't record them. So Brian is actually slotting some today. So I think we'll know next week to see. But, I think if you could do one, certainly using OSD workspace as the example, but yeah, showing this is how you get in there and make your projects aware, right? I think that would be pretty slick. Yeah.
Cool. So I got the first question. I know the crowd's been really quiet, but this is your time now. Ask away.
Maybe a little bit outside of scope, but talking about OSD and WinPE, have you tried using this like OpenAI to help you just like troubleshoot and triage like deployment failures? Like, how well do you think it would work in those scenarios?
I hate to say this, it's embarrassing, but Michael and I don't do OSD.
Yeah.
I mean, you were, if Gary was on the call, I'd say help, please. But yeah, I stopped doing OSD about 3 years ago, but it's an addiction that I just can't, quit. And I teamed up with Michael last year because he had written some blog posts on OSD and SCCM, and I was looking to offload a lot of the OSD work. I'll let him write it, but he doesn't do OSD and patch my PC. And so it's a really weird situation for us to be in that position. I think we're probably best suited to, I don't know. I don't even know why we're here, but it's fun. We love doing this, and knowing that this is not anything we do in our day job. All of this work was done outside of work hours for the community, and you guys are really why we do this stuff. I mean, this clearly took some effort and some time and some love and nurturing and we're really proud of it. As far as the troubleshooting, Gary is the guy to talk to. So add that in chat. Can we add that or follow up for Gary?
I'll put his phone number
But
in there. Yeah.
hopefully these into OSD Cloud where you can put individual steps and debug individual steps. And even if you don't solve it, anybody will be able to debug. We'll be able to debug. It makes our jobs easier when we do have some free time to look into some of these issues. And that's the other advantage of us. We're trying to take every function, every step down to the core level, and that gets defined as our core deployment. And then we expand when we get to other types of workflow sequences. But if we know the core works, then it helps us as well. So I think we'll figure some of these things out, but it takes us moving to the new model. And I hope you all can understand why we're going to have to phase out V1 because architecturally V2 is just too different. And I apologize, but we're trying to give you a really long runway to move, and we're trying to give you some really cool things that will entice you to move to the new version.
Just like the concept of being able to run OpenAI in Windows recovery environment, like I could see there just being a lot of application for that, even just like outside of deployments, like like CrowdStrike event, maybe somebody didn't know what happened, right? And you load OpenAI, you like analyze what happened, and then maybe somehow it finds like tell you what's going on, right? And so kind of brainstorming some ideas of like some of these environments can probably benefit from something like this.
Well, so, and you've heard of LLM. I mean, so the problem with that is AI is kind of in the cloud and it's going off knowledge from the cloud and having it interact with your local device. We're just not there yet.
Sure.
Copilot Plus.
And I don't think we want that because I think you'll see half of IT be laid off the minute AI
Sure.
can troubleshoot every Windows device. So,
AI released their media context protocol just yesterday, so they're adding more.
yeah, the MCP. More questions from the online crowd? Did everyone stay on? I think we have 2 or 3 people still online?
Pretty good considering, we're at 3:15 Pacific time, so our Europeans, I think, have all fallen off or should have by now.
Probably. I do see a few questions. Add support for connecting to a wireless captive portal. That's kind of like a browser issue. Ideally, it's 3:46 a.m. in India. Thank you for sticking around. Go grab a coffee and go to work. So if we can figure out how to get a portable browser in PE and support that, then definitely help you guys out. But I think we're also giving you the tools so you can start playing around and seeing what you can add to PE. And we are going to be releasing out of MMSMOA all of the work we've done on, getting your own Copilot in WinPE or getting your Azure to work. And so we'll be releasing all of that. So you'll have a lot of goodies that come with this release. So.
Also, guys, you have a question in Q&A. How much is Microsoft on board with OSD Cloud to assist or promote it in any way?
I have a T-shirt that's Microsoft. Other than that, no.
Did you get that before or after you returned these stuff?
This is old. I've gotten bigger, so it's a little snug. But yeah, it's a comfy shirt though. Yeah, no, they're letting us be here today. Again, it's really community. I think we may be filling a gap that Microsoft doesn't have a solution for yet, or solution that we can't discuss because of NDAs. But if it fills a gap, if it helps you guys out, I mean, that's important. But again, going back to the feedback, we don't know how many people use this. We can tell by how many people are installing the PowerShell modules that there's a lot of people that use OSD Cloud. They're clearly not vocal. Some are, but yeah, we're here because we want to be here, not because of we do OSD. This is a fun project. And if you want to contribute, I'm going to say this loud. If you want to help contribute to OSD, OSD Cloud, OSD Workspace, with any of the modules, since they're all splitting up, we can have small teams. Please reach out and let Michael or Gary or myself know if you want to be a part of this. It's a really cool project. I think I see Michael getting an MVP soon, just from a couple months of work, but he'll have to wait another 10 months. But it's been really fun. And I've gained so much knowledge in Copilot and VS Code. So personally, it's been very rewarding. So
We know
let
more
me
about
know.
Git than we've ever had before, right? Git alone.
Yeah, for sure. We've learned Git 100%. So I'll stick around afterwards if you want to come up to me personally. Don't wait. Any other questions in chat? Matthew, you're gonna find us at MMS and okay, try and get involved. Okay, thank you. Is this Matthew Miles?
Looks like it, yep.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much. This is just absolutely amazing.
We'll chat outside afterwards. I'll reach out
Will
to
do.
you.
Thank you.
So thank you, NWS Cup, for having us today. From me and Gary, and Michael can speak for himself.
Yeah, no, thank you everyone. You know, thanks for having us here, and thanks to Pine for the sponsoring it. And yeah,
Great.
appreciate
Thank you
you all
all.
coming out.
Great session. Really appreciate it.